Welcome back, everyone, to the Awful Takes podcast movie review.
Another one.
And coincidentally enough, it's another movie by Warner Brothers that has a lead actor playing two of the same role in the same movie.
If I had a nickel for every time an actor I loved played a double role, I'd have two, which isn't a lot, but just weird it happened twice.
It's two that happened this year. It's very strange.
Double feature.
Here we are. Sinners, Ryan Coogler's fifth movie.
Yeah,
fifth. 1 and 2.
Which is crazy. Only 5 movies.
Which is crazy. For me, I've been following this guy ever since Fruitvale Station. I remember seeing it in theaters. So it's very nice to kind of have been there at the beginning of a director's start all the way to now. And it's just such a nice journey. And I love when you connect with artists and you get to see the different aspects of what they love in movies, you know? So if you're listening to us, we're going to be getting into full spoilers for Sinners. So if you haven't seen it by now,
please go watch it.
Just go watch it. I mean, you're going to have a great time. At least I hope so. And if not, at least you could definitely walk away with one of the probably going to be the most unique movies of this year. It really is just something that totally goes for it in all of its aspects, and it just totally swings for it, you know. So I really walked away enjoying this movie. We'll be getting into it, but yeah, thank you guys for joining us.
Who are you?
My name's Nabahi.
Hello.
We're going to have more movie reviews in the future. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Hello, I'm Wallied from Sergata Productions.
We're ramping up now. This is kind of where we're getting to a lot of week by week releases. We got a lot of movies coming out that we're going to be talking about. And we got a lot of movies for our regular recommendations that we're going to be talking about. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Yeah.
Please stick with us and everything.
Stick with us.
Yeah, we'll be getting into some fun stuff for the next few months. So
definitely. Yes. So here we are. We're almost halfway through 2025, and we have a great standalone movie. It's not a sequel. It's not a spin-off. It's kind of its own unique thing. It's a fifth movie by a director who is still surprising me at this point. This is just something that I love with directors is they have a broad range, you know, they're just not always doing a similar type of movie. Granted, I get it. I get directors maybe just have that one thing that they really like, you know, and they try to go about that each time.
They stick with it.
But I just love it when directors have just such a broad range. They have their more kind of fantastical movies that they love. They also have a personal statement movie
drama.
With something like Fruitvale Station. They do the Marvel crazy, you know, movies like a Black Panther. And now we have this, which for me is just something, again, that's still left of field. I didn't expect going into this movie what it was going to be. So by the end of it, I was just like, I love that. I love it when directors do that. I guess Wallied, Ryan Coogler, you've watched a lot of his movies now. What were you thinking going into this?
I really wasn't sure what to expect going into this. I was excited to hear that he was going to be doing an original film finally, especially because for the last 3 films he's done, Creed, which I do really like a lot, and love of course the Black Panther films I do think are all right. You know, they got moments that I love, but there's some things that don't really work for me. So it was nice to see he was going to do an original film. So I was very interested to see what direction this was going to go into. And once I saw it, I was floored. I just could not believe what I was watching and everything in the best way possible. It's like a vampire film at one point. It's like a gangster film at one point. And then you have a bit of a romance with Haley Steinfeld, who does such a fantastic job in the film. And then you have a bit of a music a bit of like a music that plays a big part in the film, which I was so shocked by. I didn't expect music was going to play a big part in the film, other than maybe like the first 5-10 minutes when you get that little exposition sequence, which I thought was incredible, by the way. So right away, I just was like not even sure what to expect. And the film that I got, I really, really loved a lot. And I just can't stop thinking about it since I seen it. Honestly.
Yeah. This movie was a total surprise. I mean, going into it, you're watching it, you're expecting one thing, and you just get so much kind of thrown at you, yet the director is masterful enough to blend things together super well. Nothing feels too out of place. Everything just has such a nice cohesiveness to it. And again, when you're doing something that's very much, I would say, kind of a risk, you're kind of directing and putting together 2 movies, it can be challenging. You know, that could definitely be jarring for audiences, yet he pulls it off super well. And again, all the performances are really good. Michael B. Jordan plays
incredible.
2 different, brothers.
And they're very different from one another, which I really love and appreciate, you know. I love that he doesn't just do like the same thing. He finds a way to make it unique to the specific brother and everything.
Yeah. Very much. There are so many big undertakings in this movie, and I feel like Ryan Coogler just knew how to go about each one, you know. I feel like as much as people may want to knock on the Marvel stuff, come on, that stuff, you probably learn so much about movie making when you're doing stuff with Marvel and big budget things. I feel like had he made this movie before he did the Marvel stuff, he might have not known how to go about certain things. Right. Yeah, I feel like with the Marvel aspect, it teaches directors how to handle big budget things, how to handle extras, bunch of actors, how to handle still having your own personal feel involved in those movies, you know,
and that entertainment value too. Also, you know, like that's a big feat in of itself. And this film is just super entertaining to watch. Yeah, you know, it's just like you're so invested in the characters and everything. And not only that, there's just a lot of action in the film too. There's a lot of great scares. Like I can't even tell you how many times I jumped out of my seat watching it. I was like, this is genuinely scary. Like, you know, it goes for some like really awesome kills. It's kind of like slasher at points.
Yeah. Really, really great. The performances just totally grab you the moment they're on screen. The music is just super great. There's a crazy blend of music involved in this movie. Like obviously it has kind of the throwback music that's more like kind of attributed to the time period that it's set in.
It's that blues rock type of feel.
And it does such a great job of setting the tone, the setting that the movie is in.
And atmosphere too.
And then I swear I loved it so much when the movie totally switches and you're in this kind of vampire thing. And it's got like the heavy guitars that you would see in like kind of a horror 80s type thing.
Yeah, it's just like that heavy metal feel. And it's so crazy because it doesn't feel out of place. It just sets the tone so perfectly. It's a nice natural progression to like what you're watching.
And it's just a nice homage to those movies, you know?
Yeah.
And I swear when I heard the different blends of all the music, I was just really in shock. I was like, wow, this, even down to the music, like, I'm just like, this must have been a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
I can't help but look at it at the end of it and be like, all these aspects really work together, you know?
Easily. Yeah. I wanted to talk about that sequence when they're having the party and everything, and they start performing this song. It goes into like this one take, and it shows like the past, present, and future of music all into one. And surprisingly enough, it doesn't feel like forced or anything. And it shows, I think, the message of how music can bring people together, even in like the worst of times, you know? And it was so interesting to see like how like the present of music is there, but then you also see like the past and like the crowds, and then you see like the future of music, like which is like today, you know, modern day and everything like that. And the way it blends all of these genres together is surprisingly really cohesive, and it doesn't feel like messy or muddled in any way. And just that whole sequence, it just blew my mind. I was so shocked when I saw it. I got chills watching it, and I'm still just trying to process that scene. How did you kind of feel about that whole sequence and everything?
It was great. Obviously, Ryan Coogler has those one takes in his movies that are very much a staple to kind of his style and everything. I wouldn't be surprised to hear him kind of break down this scene, and there's probably multiple takes in this scene.
Yeah, I would
but
love
he
to
does
hear
a good
it.
job. He does a good job of making it feel seamless, you know. It definitely is left of field, but again, like he crafts it so well and he plays off it so well that it just feels really cohesive, and it feels nothing that's that jarring, you know. It really just kind of when I was watching, I was like, no, this is working for me. I mean, it shows you again the aspects of music that are good but also bad. Like, yeah, it shows you how powerful music is and how it brings people together, but with the whole vampire aspect shows
and the
that
evil spirits
there are people
and everything.
who want to exploit that. There are people who want to use that to their own advantage, you know, which is, again, in today's day and age, very powerful message. And it's probably was something that has been affecting us in music for a long time. And I think it's something that probably goes over a lot of people's heads, is to the fact that they made these vampires based in Irish culture. I think that's a very big choice that most people maybe aren't really recognizing, that Irish culture at one point was facing a lot of racism and things like that with Christianity and things, that they almost lost a lot of their own culture to this other group of people. So I feel like if the movie was maybe a little more straightforward, they probably wouldn't have chose to do that. Yet I think there's a very clear reason why they made this group that shows up Irish, as opposed to just, you know, straight up Christianity, you know, just straight up white people. I think there's a very kind of darker undertone there that most people aren't really taking into account. You know?
I just definitely think it would have been a little bit more on the nose for sure, and a little bit more like kind of obvious of what it's going for. But I was kind of shocked about that. And I didn't know too much about like the history of like Irish culture and everything like that. So that's definitely,
figure like it expands on it in such a great way. Towards the end, one of the characters starts reciting this, you know, Bible thing, and what happens with the Irish people, they sing the exact same thing. They know it word for word. They've heard it dozens of times, because that was basically forced onto their own people, which again, it just kind of shows you that they've suffered the same thing, you know? So it's not straight up. I'm not like trying to defend it in any way, but I think that was a very clear choice, that it wasn't just racism in the form of vampires projected onto this group of people, with them choosing to do that and them knowing that whole verse, and almost they're haunted by it, you know. That's what he portrays at the end. Like, that's just such a crazy layer to add to like a villain or a group of villains that I wasn't expecting. Like, and again, it's unfortunate, because I do feel like that probably does go over most people's heads. Like, I think there's a group that probably watches this movie and it's just
kind of missed the point.
Like, white people are bad or whatever, you know, they might say something like that, but I think this director was very clear about what he was setting out to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And honestly, watching it, it feels so much like a folk tale come to life and everything, just from like the way it begins and everything with the music and everything like that. And then just as you're watching it, you're just like, it has these senses of like evil spirits. And I love how like the religious themes play such a big aspect into this, surprisingly. And it feels very well done, especially with like the younger character and him getting lost into that madness that Michael B. Jordan's characters are and everything, you know. I really loved following that main character, the young character in the film, because it helped to give like a perspective of like, he's a lot more innocent and everything. He hasn't really experienced a lot of life outside of like the small town that he lives in and everything like that. And I think the film showed an incredible job of like when he was finally with the brothers and everything, you got to see like him finally being a little bit more open about music and everything like that. Cause I noticed at the beginning, he's very closed off and quiet with his dad, who is like a pastor at this church, you know, and he's very against music. He doesn't want him spending time with like the brothers and everything like that. And once he gets lost into it, and once he gets into like the more bluesy side of the film, I think the film really shows like he's a lot more vulnerable. He's a lot more open with these people than he was with his dad. Yeah. And I think the film really encapsulated it really well. And I think the film showed it in a really incredible job, which I guess I could kind of say for me, it did feel a little too slow at points, but I feel like now that I kind of know everything that happens, I feel like maybe when I rewatch it, it'll go by a lot more quicker. Yeah. Now knowing like the context and everything that happens.
No, yeah. There's a lot to love in this movie. For instance, amazing, even just traditional kind of vampire stuff. Like when they kind of starts kicking off, they throw little hints at you. Like the vampires, they can't enter in the building without being invited.
Right, yeah.
They, they have this human-like quality to them, yet when that is kind of that mask is kind of taken off and they're kind of like exposed, very frightening. Yeah, with the red eyes, and then out of nowhere they just start flying, and it's just like it's so jarring when you see it, and you're just kind of left with this like, oh god, that's terrifying.
That introduction, my god, that scared the living bejeebies out of me. Honestly, I was like,
great aspects to this movie. There's just so many different revolving layers and parts, and I'm glad nothing was kind of sacrificed. I'm glad everything again just ties together very well. The layers just really add to everything you're watching. It doesn't feel out of place, and at the end you're just left with this movie that I can't imagine on rewatch is just gonna show you something new each time. You're just gonna be like, oh wow, that's something I didn't notice the first time.
There's a whole other aspect of it you didn't even notice, you know, and that's why I'm so excited to watch this again and everything too. I feel like there's so much more I can just pick apart with this film. There's so much more I feel like I can enjoy that I maybe didn't get like the first time watching it. And especially like I was talking about with the beginning too, because it is a little bit more slow pace. It's great, like slow burning tension throughout, honestly. And I feel like now rewatching it and knowing the context of everything that happens, I think it'll make it even better and maybe even more frightening to watch, honestly.
It's just, I feel like this is going to be one of those defining moments in movie history that we just will always look back on and be like, remember when Sinners came out? You remember, you know?
Where were you the day Sinners came out?
Yeah, and like I can't imagine the generation of artists that this is going to inspire.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the impact it's going to have in 10 years.
Not only just filmmaking, but even just music, culture, appreciation. That's something that is great in this movie, and it kind of proposes such a haunting question that moving away from your own culture, what could that lead into? You know, right. If you forget about your ancestry and where you came from, does that do you good, or is it something that can do you bad?
Yeah.
Such an interesting question to propose. And the fact that it's done in such a crazy movie, this kind of elevated genre movie is just so fascinating.
Yeah, and I think the theme of sacrifice too also just plays such a massive role in this, you know, of him like sacrificing either being with his dad and going the religious route or going the more music route and everything and going in that more not famous way, but kind of like making a deal with the devil type of thing, you know, and if you want, we can talk a bit about that epilogue at the end. Yeah. That was a very big surprise where it time jumps to like the 90s. And it was crazy to see like Michael B. Jordan's character and Haley Steinfeld's character as like vampires and everything. And like that whole ending I feel like just shows that like sometimes these things that happen in our past life or that happened many, many years ago will eventually come back to haunt you and everything like that. And I think the film, it was just such a nice bow tie to everything you just watched and everything. And I definitely need to watch it again for sure to understand maybe the ending and epilogue a little bit more. But that was kind of what I got from watching it the first time.
Yeah. It was something that you just can't miss. I'm just surprised they kind of threw it in the credits thing.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing people walking out already.
Same, yeah.
And I was like, did you guys see this?
Guys, there's like 10 more minutes of movie.
Really though, it's like another 5 minutes. But yeah, it's such a interesting spin on the overall movie of someone who has found success and everything, and they've gone through this whole life journey and everything, yet back when they were trying to make it and prove themselves, that was the moment where they felt most alive. That is such an interesting question. That is such an interesting statement. Again, it kind of shows you in your life and everything, keeping a hold of your culture and everything, keeping a hold of where you come from is very, very important. I'm sure there's so many other layers to it. Again, that's one of the reasons why I'm very excited to rewatch it. But man, that is such a crazy way to take this movie. Again, I wasn't expecting. At no point was I like...
It's still surprising you even by like the last 5-10 minutes.
Very, very crazy. If I'm going to get into my negatives, I have a few. This movie's not perfect. I feel like Wallied mentioned the pacing in the first and second act was a little offbeat at sometimes. Sometimes things maybe moved just a little bit slower and things than I was maybe hoping. Who knows? Maybe on a rewatch, I might look back and be like, oh, it actually wasn't that big of a deal. And then I feel like the final act kind of just tied everything together, but I just felt maybe a little rushed with how things were playing out. I was just like, all right, it just felt kind of tacked on at the end, you know?
Yeah, especially with the Ku Klux Klan thing. Yeah, with like that whole shootout, I was like, that was a big surprise and everything. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. You know, there's still a little bit there left. But yeah, it did feel, I guess it did tease it a little bit in the beginning. But then it was just kind of like, just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just felt really just kind of like, oh, I forgot, you know?
Yeah, that was there.
And I felt like the emotion maybe could have hit a little harder with the brother obviously being reunited with his family. And it felt like I was almost there. And obviously it invokes a lot of emotion. But I just felt like maybe the way they went about it just didn't hit as hard as I maybe wanted it to.
Okay.
And I will say, for me personally, with Michael B. Jordan's performances, had there not been a very clear difference on who was who, I don't know if I would have been able to tell based solely on performances. But, you know, maybe that was a stylistic choice of director and actor going about this in a certain way. However, if one wasn't wearing red and one wasn't wearing blue, I probably would have gotten lost in who was who. So maybe they could have touched on something maybe just a little bit better, maybe just a little bit more of a different performance from Michael B. Jordan. But again, by the end of it, it works. Everything was good. I was able to tell the difference, but yeah.
I think at first I wasn't, but then I think once we got to like the party sequence, I think they kind of showed their true colors a little bit more. So it was a little bit easier to kind of differentiate both of them. But yeah, I could see that being a detriment for sure.
And I will say this movie commits one of my personal least favorite movie sins. What's that? But it was still really cool. I don't like it in movies when Native Americans are used to just advance the plot and then they're immediately forgotten about. It happens in so many movies. So granted, obviously it was a nice setup and I still really enjoyed it, but that is for me one of the movie sins that I just am like, come on. It was so cool. Like obviously they track this vampire to this house. They're so knowledgeable in obviously the supernatural. Native Americans are very superstitious. So it was nice to kind of see this kind of predetermined threat. And I love that in movies when a threat is predetermined and perceived by something that's ahead of the curve. So for them to be like, shit's about to go down, it's almost sundown, we should probably leave. I was like, that was pretty cool. But again, they're just kind of forgotten about, and they didn't show up at all. And I was just like,
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't play a bigger part in the in that whole climactic sequence and everything. But
it was still a nice setup for the vampires. But for me, that is one of the movie sins that I see a lot in movies where you get Native Americans and they're served for one purpose and then they're gone. I swear, the Green Mile, that Graham Greene's in that movie for like 3 minutes. He has 2 lines and then he's gone. Suicide Squad, Adam Beach is in it to show that, the heroes can actually die and his head gets blown off. And, and God, he's immediately forgotten about. It happens a lot in movies. I don't think people are as aware of it as I am. The Revenant, Forrest Goodluck dies, and it starts the plot of the movie.
That's messed up.
I'm just messing around with that. That's not an actual detriment to the film. It's just more of like a coincidence I've noticed. So overall, if I'm closing thoughts, score-wise, probably somewhere around like a 9 out of 10. Nice. Really enjoyed it. Really just great effort by a great director. I'm super excited to see what he has moving forward, whether he does something like this or whether he, again, steps out of his box and does something that, again, we're not expecting. At no point while I was watching Fruitvale Station, Creed, or Black Panther would I have ever guessed that he would have done something like this. And that is such a mark of a good director. I'm not trying to knock on any of my other favorite directors, but step outside of your box. Go for something you don't normally go for.
I mean, those are the best kinds of filmmakers, honestly. You know, it shows the variety in your filmmaking and everything like that. Yeah, this is one of the best films I've seen in a while, honestly. Best new films I've seen in quite a long time. This just exceeded all of my worries, honestly. Just the way this film blends genre is super just seamless and everything. The acting is just incredible all around. Granted, I will say the first 20 minutes, it did go a little bit too slow for me. But aside from that, like the pacing of this film is just super top notch. I feel like not a single moment is wasted at all or anything. All of the music choices are just absolutely incredible, and music plays such a vital part of the film, which I have been dying to see in a film for a long time, and I'm glad this film does it in such a great and unique creative way and everything like that. So score wise for me, I'm probably at like a 9.5 out of 10, honestly. I really, really loved this a lot, and I'm very excited to just watch it again and just see what else I can pick up on with this. So yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, like, please go check it out. Like, it's absolutely worth your money. It's absolutely worth your time.
Obviously, Ryan Coogler has been on my radar for a while, but I feel like this will get him to the point where people are going to start having knowledge about his name now. And they're going to anticipate each follow-up, each effort. They're going to be excited. I think this is going to push him into that kind of A-list category of directors who draw mass appeal and mass attention, which is something that
is so hard to do.
It's rare. It's rare. And it's definitely something that happens less than we may think about,
Yeah.
I just hope for his next effort, he still retains the best aspects of his filmmaking. I will say when there are situations like this, the next effort, I just hope he doesn't really feel the need to surpass this in any way.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't feel that pressure with this film and everything.
Just go for another swing. Like that's all it is. Like it sucks sometimes when directors, I feel like they get too in their head that they made quote unquote kind of masterpiece in a way, and now they have to follow it up.
Right.
Don't get too tied into that. I like how I'm talking like Ryan Coogler's listening, but don't get too tied into that. Just go at it again, and whether it's something similar or different, people are going to be there.
Honestly, I really hope he just does more original films. Honestly, because I feel like this is really his strong suit. Honestly, especially after Black Panther and everything like that. Like, this is exciting to me. Like if this is just like his original films, like I can't even imagine what types of films he'll be making next. So I really hope he sticks into this kind of original lane, but doesn't box himself though, So I'm excited though. I'm very excited nonetheless.
Another thing, this is becoming a great director-actor duo. This is their fourth time going,
that's true,
toe-to-toe with each other, and I feel like they just keep surprising me,
Yeah, they have a great relationship for sure. Do. I really love just seeing Michael B. Jordan in these films,
Yeah. All right. That is it for us on this one. Check out Sinners if you haven't. And if you have, let us know what you guys think. More movie reviews coming out in the future. We got a lot of movies coming out soon that we're going to be watching. Let us know what you guys think.
All right. Good day and good night, mates.
See you on the next one.